The chandelier light fractured into 1,000 golden shards, bathing the gala in a glow that screamed wealth. Crystal clinked, silk rustled, and the air carried the sharp tang of champagne. Then a voice, sharp, venomous, sliced through the hum. Elara Voss stood at the center of the ballroom, her emerald gown clinging like a second skin, her auburn hair catching the light like fire. She pointed a manicured finger at a man across the room. Older, unassuming, his suit slightly creased, gray hair mussed as if he'd wandered in from a rainy street rather than this elite enclave. "You," she sneered, loud enough for heads to snap toward her. "What are you doing here? This is for billionaires, not whatever you are." The man, Harlan Reed, stood still, his weathered face calm, eyes deep-set and unreadable. The crowd froze, their murmurs fading into a tense hush. Elara's clique of glittering friends tittered, egging her on with sly smiles. She stepped closer, her heels clicking on marble, her jasmine perfume overwhelming. "Look at you, shuffling around like a lost janitor. Did you sneak past security, or are you here to clear plates?" Laughter erupted from her group, sharp and hollow, echoing off gilded walls. Harlan adjusted his tie, a slow, deliberate motion. "Young lady," he said, his voice low, carrying the grit of decades survived, "you might have me confused with someone else." Elara's laugh was a blade. "Confused, please. I know your type, pretending to belong, reeking of desperation. Scurry back to whatever hole you crawled from." She waved him off, turning to her entourage with a triumphant smirk. But the room's energy shifted. Whispers slithered through the crowd, eyes darting between Elara's defiance and Harlan's stillness. Why didn't he snap back? Why didn't he slink away? His calm was unnerving, a quiet storm brewing beneath his plain exterior. Elara sipped her champagne, bubbles fizzing against her lips, trying to ignore the prickle at her neck. Her friends chattered about yacht parties and stock tips, but their voices felt distant, drowned by the weight of curious stares. She'd built her empire on audacity, rising from a gritty childhood to this world of diamonds and deals. Mocking an outsider was just another Tuesday. Yet fragments of conversation drifted her way. "That's Harlan Reed," someone whispered. "Father of Elias Reed, the AI Titan." Elara's glass paused midair. "Elias Reed, the billionaire whose tech reshaped industries, whose wealth dwarfed nations. No, the old man looked too ordinary." She glanced back. Harlan now stood with a knot of executives, their tailored suits leaning toward him, hanging on his words. His posture was relaxed, but there was power in it, a quiet gravity. A knot twisted in her gut, cold and sharp. Had she just insulted the patriarch of a dynasty? The string quartet swelled, notes weaving a mocking melody. Elara excused herself, slipping to the balcony. The night air was cool, scented with rain and city grit, a stark contrast to the perfumed excess inside. She gripped the railing, replaying her words, his steady gaze. Why hadn't he called her out? Back inside, the auction began. Artifacts and rare experiences bid on by the ultra-rich. Elara returned, her confidence fraying. She bid on a Monet sketch, her voice steady but her mind racing. Eyes kept finding her, judging, amused. She couldn't tell. Then Harlan took the podium, unannounced. The room hushed. "Friends," he began, his tone warm yet commanding, "let's talk about humility in a world of excess." Elara's pulse quickened. Was this about her? He spoke of his life, rags to riches, lessons hard won. Each word felt like a mirror, reflecting her arrogance. As applause rose, their eyes met. His smile was faint, not cruel, but knowing. Elara's champagne soured in her throat. What was he planning? The night pulsed with unspoken consequences, and the air crackled with the promise of reckoning. The gala's energy surged, cameras flashing like lightning in the gilded haze. Elara tried to mingle, her laughter forced, but whispers trailed her like ghosts. She mocked Harlan Reed, bold but stupid. Her cheeks burned, though she masked it with a defiant toss of her hair, She cornered Marcus, a venture capitalist, in the velvet-draped lounge. "Who is that guy?" She hissed, her voice low, urgent. Marcus raised an eyebrow, swirling his scotch. "Harlan? Elias Reed's father. Started from nothing. Immigrant factory worker, then invested his way to billions. Taught Elias everything." "Why?" Elara waved it off. Curious. But panic bloomed, sharp and cold. She'd humiliated him publicly. If word reached Elias, her career, her access to these circles could evaporate. Dessert arrived. Chocolate towers drizzled with gold leaf, their sweetness cloying. Harlan approached her table, pulling out a chair with quiet grace. "May I join you, Miss Voss?" Her friends fell silent, eyes wide. Elara nodded, throat tight. "Of course," he sat, folding his hands. "You have strong opinions about belonging," he said, his tone conversational but piercing. "What makes someone worthy in your eyes?" It was a trap wrapped in civility. Elara swallowed, then leaned in. "Success, influence. Not looking like you wandered in from a thrift store." Her friends snickered, but Harlan's chuckle was warm, disarming. "Appearances can deceive." He leaned closer, voice dropping. "I built my first company with calloused hands, not custom suits. My son learned that early." The table hung on his words as he wove stories of his past. Grueling factory shifts, nights studying markets by lamplight. No accusation, yet each tale chipped at Elara's armor. Her confidence wavered, the room's opulence suddenly garish. By coffee's arrival, its bitter steam curling between them, Elara's bravado cracked. "I didn't know who you were," she muttered, eyes on her cup. Harlan's gaze softened. "Would it have changed how you treat people?" The question lingered unanswered as he stood. "Join me for a walk tomorrow. We'll talk more. An olive branch? Or a deeper challenge?" Elara watched him leave, the gala's lights blurring. What had she set in motion? Morning broke, sunlight slicing through her penthouse windows like a hesitant apology. Elara paced, her silk robe whispering against polished floors. Harlan's card sat on the counter, plain, unadorned, listing a cafe downtown. Pride screamed to stay home, but curiosity and a flicker of shame drove her out. The city thrummed, honking taxis, the earthy scent of street coffee, crowds flowing like rivers. At the cafe, Harlan waited at a corner table, a black coffee steaming before him, a newspaper folded neatly. "Glad you came," he said, his smile crinkling his eyes as she sat. Elara ordered an espresso, its sharp aroma grounding her. "Why invite me? After what I said?" "Because arrogance often hides something deeper. I've seen it in myself once." Over the hour he shared his story, fleeing a war-torn village, arriving in America with a single suitcase, building wealth through grit and gambles. "I mocked the rich once too," he admitted. "Thought they were weak. Until I became one." Elara's walls crumbled. Her own past spilled out. Abandoned by her parents, fighting through cutthroat jobs, always fearing she'd lose her place. "I mocked to survive," she whispered. Harlan nodded. "Armor becomes a cage if you're not careful." His phone buzzed. "My son," he said, answering briefly. Elias's voice crackled. "Dad, about last night, want me to handle her?" Harlan glanced at Elara. "No need, son. We're working it out." He hung up, eyes twinkling. "He was ready to blacklist you from every event in the city." Elara's heart lurched. "You stopped him?" "For now." The words carried weight, a subtle warning. They parted with a handshake, but as Elara walked away, the city's pulse felt heavier. Was this truce real or the calm before a storm? Days blurred into a whirlwind of work. Elara's marketing firm hummed with deals, but Harlan's words echoed like a quiet drumbeat. Invitations still arrived, but with a chill. Subtle exclusions from elite circles. Her phone buzzed less with offers, more with cautious pleasantries. Then an email landed. From Elias Reed. Meeting request, potential collaboration. Her pulse raced. Was this Harlan's doing? A reward or a test? She arrived at Reed Industries Tower. its glass walls gleaming like a fortress. Elias was younger than she'd imagined, sharp-featured like his father, but with a tech mogul's edge. Crisp suit, eyes like code scanning for errors. "Dad speaks highly of you," he said, shaking her hand. Elara blinked. "After everything?" He smiled faintly. "He sees potential. Says your fire needs tempering but strong." The meeting unfolded. A partnership offer to lead Reed's next AI campaign. Lucrative, transformative. But a catch. Work with Dad on the creative. "He has ideas," Elara agreed, excitement tinged with unease. Back home she called Harlan. "Why help me?" His voice was warm, steady, because shocking the world isn't about destruction. It's about growth. Weeks passed, their collaboration intense. Harlan's modest office, lined with family photos, faded blueprints, became their hub. Elara pushed bold, flashy ideas. Harlan grounded them in ethics, in stories that connected. Debates flared, her impatience clashing with his calm. One night, surrounded by coffee cups and crumpled notes, she challenged him. "You could have ruined me. Why didn't you?" He set down his pen. "Ruining lives builds nothing. Teaching does." His eyes held hers. "But don't mistake kindness for weakness." The project neared launch, buzz swelling in industry circles. Whispers shifted from her gala blunder to anticipation. Elara felt the weight of redemption. Or was it judgment? Looming launch day arrived, the venue alive with energy. Screens flashing Reed's AI platform, crowds mingling under pulsing spotlights. Elara took the stage, her voice steady as she introduced the campaign. Harlan sat in the front row, nodding encouragement. Then chaos. The projectors flickered, replacing sleek ads with raw footage. Elara's past outbursts, her voice mocking colleagues, clients, and Harlan at the gala. "Scurry back to your hole." Gasps rippled through the audience. Her face burned, the microphone a lead weight. Was this Harlan's doing? Revenge after all? The room spun, tension coiling like a spring. She searched for him, heart pounding. He was already moving, climbing the stage steps with steady purpose. The crowd hushed, eyes locked on him. Was he here to condemn her? To seal her fate? The air crackled, every second stretching into eternity. Harlan reached her, his hand gentle on her shoulder. "Glitches happen," he said loudly, his voice a lifeline. "But let's show the real story." He signaled Elias's team. The screen shifted to the campaign. Stories of innovators inspired by Harlan's life. "This," he said, turning to Elara, "is about rising above mistakes. Miss Voss has grown remarkably. Let's celebrate that." Applause rose, tentative, then thunderous. Lara's knees trembled, relief flooding her like a warm tide. Backstage, she grabbed Harlan. "Was that you?" He shook his head. "Old enemies, maybe mine, maybe yours. I suspected something might surface." Her voice cracked. "You saved me, why?" His smile was soft, lines deepening around his eyes. "Because you're not your worst moment. You're what you choose next." The event ended in triumph, but questions lingered. Who had sabotaged her? And would Harlan's kindness hold, or was another test coming? The weeks after the launch were a blur of success. Elara's firm soared, contracts flooding in. Industry blogs praised the campaign, her name tied to its triumph. But beneath the shine, unease simmered. The glitch wasn't random. Someone had dug up her past, weaponized it. She met Harlan weekly, their collaboration evolving into mentorship. Over coffee in his cluttered office, he shared more. His failures, his fears, the cost of his rise. "Wealth doesn't erase doubt," he said, stirring his cup. "It amplifies it." Elara confessed her own fears, losing her edge, her place. "I built myself from nothing. If I slip—" "You won't," Harlan cut in. "You're stronger than your armor." But the sabotage gnawed at her. She hired a tech consultant to trace the glitch. Late one night, her phone pinged. A report. The footage came from an anonymous server, but metadata pointed to a rival firm, Vantage Group. Elara's blood ran cold. Vantage's CEO, Lila Crane, had been at the gala, smirking from the sidelines. Elara confronted Harlan the next day, papers scattered across his desk. It was Lila. She's been gunning for me for years. Harlan's brow furrowed. Lila's cunning but careful. Why risk exposure? Jealousy, Elara spat. She's been losing clients to me. He leaned back, thoughtful. Then let's outsmart her. Not with revenge, with brilliance. They planned a follow-up campaign, bolder, showcasing AI's human impact. Elara poured herself into it, sleepless nights fueled by espresso and ambition. Harlan tempered her ideas, weaving in stories of his early struggles, factory floors, loan rejections, to ground the project in authenticity. Tension built as the new launch neared. Elara's team worked overtime, the office buzzing with late-night pizza and laptop glow. Whispers of Vantage's counter-campaign surfaced, sleek, aggressive, aiming to steal Reed's spotlight. The night before the reveal, Elara found Harlan in his office staring at an old photo. Him and Elias, young, laughing in a modest apartment. This keeps me grounded, he said softly. Success can blind you. She hesitated, then asked, what if Lila strikes again? He met her gaze. Then we shine brighter. Launch day dawned, the venue a fortress of glass and steel. Crowds packed the hall, anticipation electric. Elara took the stage, her voice steady, unveiling stories of AI empowering small businesses, families, echoes of Harlan's life. Halfway through, a murmur rippled. Phones buzzed, screens lighting up. Elara's heart sank. Another leak? She glanced at Harlan, who stood calm, watching. A journalist stood holding up her phone. Miss Voss, care to comment on Vantage's claim that your campaign copies theirs? The accusation hit like a slap. Elara froze, but Harlan stepped forward. Let's address this, he said, voice commanding. He gestured to Elias, who projected Vantage's campaign alongside theirs. The similarities were superficial. Stock imagery, generic slogans. Reed's was raw, human, rooted in real stories. Lila Crane's team rushed to compete, Harlan said. Ours is built on truth. Judge for yourselves. The crowd murmured, then applauded, the tide turning. Elara exhaled, her fear melting into resolve. Harlan's belief in her held firm, a quiet anchor. Backstage, she confronted him. You knew she'd try this, he nodded. I've faced her kind before. The best response is to rise above. The event ended in triumph, but Elara sensed Lila's shadow lingering. Was this the end or just another move in a larger game? The city's pulse thrummed below Elara's penthouse balcony, its lights a sprawling constellation of ambition and grit. Success had come hard and fast. Her firm now a titan in marketing. Her name whispered with respect in boardrooms and blogs. The Reed campaign had redefined her, its human stories resonating globally. But a shadow lingered. Lila Crane, humiliated by her failed sabotage, wasn't done. Whispers reached Elara. Lila was digging again, unearthing old skeletons to paint Elara as a fraud. The thought tightened her chest, a cold knot of dread. She met Harlan at his home for dinner, a modest brownstone worlds away from the gala's glitz. The scent of garlic and rosemary filled the air, candles flickering on a worn oak table. Elias joined them, his sharp features softened by the warm light. Over plates of homemade pasta, Harlan raised a glass of red wine, its ruby glow catching the flame. To family, he said, voice steady. Blood and chosen. Elara's throat tightened, her fork pausing midair. I don't deserve this, she said, voice low, raw. Not after what I did to you. Harlan's eyes, lined with years of battles won and lost, held hers. You deserve what you've earned, Elara. You chose to change. Elias leaned forward, his tech mogul edge softened by the setting. Dad's right. You took a hit, owned it, and built something real. That's rare. The words landed like a bomb, but the threat of Lila loomed. Elara set down her glass, the wine's tang lingering on her tongue. Lila's coming for me again. Articles, rumors. She's dragging up every mistake I've made. Harlan's brow furrowed, but his voice stayed calm. She's a vulture picking at wounds. You can't stop her from trying, but you can control how you respond. Elara's jaw tightened. I want to fight back hard. He shook his head. Fight with truth, not fists. Show the world who you are now. The next morning, her phone buzzed with the first blow. A tabloid piece. Elara Voss, fraud or phenom. It rehashed her gala outburst. Old emails where she'd snapped at colleagues. Even a blurry video of her mocking a junior assistant years ago. Comments flooded online, sharp and unforgiving, arrogant as ever. Leopards don't change spots. Her stomach churned. The city's hum outside her window now a mocking drone. She called Harlan, pacing her office, its glass walls reflecting her tense silhouette. It's spreading. Clients are asking questions. What do I do? Own it, he said, his voice a steady anchor over the line. Tell your story before she twists it further. Elara hesitated, fear clawing at her. But Harlan's belief, unwavering, unearned, pushed her forward. She gathered her team, the office alive with the clatter of keyboards and coffee cups. We're launching a response, she declared. Not a defense, a confession. They crafted a campaign. Raw, unpolished videos of Elara sharing her journey. She sat before a camera, no makeup, hair loose, the city skyline behind her. I was arrogant, she began, voice steady but vulnerable. I mocked people to feel strong. People like Harlan Reed who showed me kindness instead of revenge. I've made mistakes, but I'm not my worst moment. The videos traced her path. Abandoned as a child, clawing through cutthroat jobs, building armor with sharp words. She spoke of Harlan's mentorship, his stories of struggle, how they reshaped her. I'm still learning, she admitted, but I'm trying to be better. The campaign launched at dawn, flooding social media. Views climbed, comments pouring in. Not all kind, but many moved. She's real. This takes guts. Elara watched the numbers, heart pounding as the narrative shifted. Lila's smear began to falter, her articles drowned by the authenticity of Elara's voice. Harlan called her that evening. You did it, he said, pride lacing his words. You turned her weapon into your strength. Elara exhaled, relief mingling with disbelief. I thought I'd lose everything. You almost did, he said, not unkindly. But you chose truth. That's what shocks the world. Weeks later at a tech conference, Elara took the stage to present Reed's next phase. The crowd was massive, their energy electric, the air thick with anticipation. Lila was there in the back, her face tight with defeat. Elara met her gaze briefly, not with triumph, but resolve. She spoke of innovation, of AI's power to uplift, weaving in Harlan's stories, his factory days, his first risky investments. The audience leaned in, captivated. Harlan watched from the front, his nod subtle but warm. Backstage, a reporter cornered her. Lila's team says you fabricated your story for sympathy. Elara smiled, unshaken. Let them talk. My work speaks louder. That night, she stood on her balcony, the city's lights a tapestry of possibility. Harlan's lessons had rooted deep. Shocking the world wasn't about vengeance or flash. It was about truth, raw and unyielding. She'd faced her past, her fears, and emerged not just successful, but whole. At their final meeting, in Harlan's office surrounded by faded blueprints and family photos, she handed him a small gift, a leather-bound journal, her thank you inscribed inside. You didn't just save me, she said, voice thick. You showed me who I could be. Harlan's eyes crinkled, his hand closing over hers. You found that yourself, Elara. I just pointed the way. As she walked into the night, the city's rhythm felt like her own. A steady beat of redemption, hard-won and enduring.